It's Victory Tuesday. John Gibson joins me in studio now to talk Bowling Green win over Akron Zips. Bowling Green now 3-6 overall. They have just as many wins in the MAC as Toledo. After the game, I saw a flag hanging a W, or a flagpole hanging a W flag. Is that new? Because I haven't seen it.
The victory flag is, that's very old. I would say it's an old tradition. It's doesn't date back to my playing time, but I want to say that may go back to the Dave Clawson years, maybe Greg Brandon.
I just haven't noticed it yet this season.
Yeah, every time
there have been wins.
Yeah, every time there's a victory, up the flagpole goes the W flag, and it'll sit there until the next home game.
I personally have never seen that, but I love it. It's a nice touch. The big thing that happened in that Akron game, the defense. Bowling Green held them to 100 total yards of offense on the day. What did you see out of the defense Saturday?
Well, I saw a defense that went out and took advantage of an inept offense. It's not like we shut down the 99 Rams here. We really went out and we beat up on a defense on an offense that is struggling, even with Cato Nelson back. That just was not a very good offense. They were not very good in the offensive line, which is a departure from Western and Central, where we saw very good offensive lines. This is an offensive line that they struggled throughout the game. You saw kind of the return of form of the Toledo game, where you saw defensive linemen making plays behind the line of scrimmage. You saw blitzes getting home, but you also saw Cato Nelson become rattled and throw bad passes, which led to a couple of interceptions. You saw a defense, a total team effort from all three levels.
Coach Leffler absolutely loves talking about Nico Lautinen on the defense, the senior guy there. He's a vet. But also Carl Brooks, the sophomore, had a great game as well. So how are you just seeing the experience with the youth kind of just build each other up?
Well, it's great to see a guy like Carl Brooks start to make plays. Coming in last year, we knew that Carl was going to be a good player at BG. He had the potential. He had everything that you would want from a player. And then you saw him etch his way into the lineup last year as a true freshman. You saw him this year really step in, and you knew he was entrenched as a starter. And now, midway through his sophomore season, 3/4 of the way through his sophomore season, we're seeing him start to make big plays. We see, here's a 6'4", 260-pound kid who's backing off the line and looks like a tight end, snagging balls out of the air and taking them the other direction. That's big time play for a young man that's that young. You kind of wish you could have him for an extra year to get that 5th year for him anyway, because who knows what he can be with a year of working out. But what he's giving us right now is exactly what you want to see. That's going to be one of your building blocks for the future.
Yeah, and his first career interception on the day too, which was really exciting to see. On the horizon is MACtion. Who coined the term MACtion first off? Is it Barstool? Is it Pat McAfee?
I don't know who came up with that term.
Was it a thing while you were playing?
It was not a thing when I played. We had just gotten into the ESPN deal when my senior year in 2001. MACtion really became a thing during my announcing career, early in my announcing career, I would say. 04, 03, 04, somewhere in that area, when the MACtion thing really first started. And at first it's great, because that first week, when you get 10 days, you get those extra days to get healthy, and you get a weekend off as a player, it's great. After that, it just kind of gets weird, because these young men are still going to class. So, they'll miss class on Tuesday, but they'll still have a vigorous study schedule in addition to studying football and getting ready for the Red Hawks. And then the next day, they've got to be at class. There's no rest for the weary. There's no off time. And you figure with an 8 o'clock kickoff time, it may be 2, 3 o'clock before those buses pull back into Doyd Perry Stadium, and then they still got to drive home. So, it'll be every bit of 3, 4 o'clock before these kids get to sleep.
So, yes, Bowling Green, they'll get 11 days off before they travel to Miami. They play on the road. So, how does the schedule change, the prep change throughout the week?
Well, you get a lot more. You get a little break time. You get a little break time. You're not going to go as hard. Late in the season, you're never really going very hard anyway. but you get a little break time. I remember, we had a bye like this during my career, and it was just a chance for me to go out and have dinner with my girlfriend on a Friday night when you never have that opportunity going forward. So that I'm sure they're looking forward to just, if you don't want to do nothing but sit at home and play Madden, you have that weekend where you can sit at home and play Madden. The season's winding down. You've got 3 weeks left, 3 games left. You can see the finish line, and this is just kind of a little respite. You get a few days off. You actually get to watch some college football instead of actually just playing it. And those things become, I'm not going to say they're important, but that rest, that break that you get becomes a very big thing.
Yeah. Speaking of Miami, they are 4-4 overall, 3-1 in the MAC, and they haven't lost a game at home yet. What does that pose for the Falcons on the road?
When you go to Miami, they have something that they call the Miami Whammy. And the Miami Whammy is just, that place is a very difficult place to play. Yager Stadium is a very difficult place to play. I played there twice during my career. During my career, what's now the home sideline was the visitor sideline. It was right behind the student section. And the student section was not shy about letting you know, we are Miami and we are superior to you.
Is that the Miami Whammy? What specifically is Miami
Just
Whammy?
The whole feeling of the stadium, the game, the team, what happens when you go play there. That's what it's the Miami Whammy. There's been a lot of teams that have gone down there. I remember during my career, you saw a Marshall team that was great go into Miami and catch a Miami Whammy. And we're talking, this is just after Randy Moss Miami team, or Marshall team. So it's tough to play in that place. The student section is loud, they're boisterous, and they get behind their team. And let's not, we all talk Toledo. Toledo is the cute rivalry that national media picks up on. When you start talking about the battle for Mid-American Conference championships, that's when you have to start talking about Bowling Green and Miami. When you look at the record books, you see Bowling Green, you see Miami, then you see everybody else. That's the way that it's been over the years. The older guys older than me, Toledo was, they hate Miami. When you start talking about the guys that are, Greg Studrawa's age, or, Coach Kriegel down there at Perrysburg, those guys, they hate Miami just as much as they hate anyone.
Yeah, I would love to hear Coach Kriegel's take on the Miami Whammy. But this is a big time for rest, especially with the depth of the Falcons right now. What do you want to see from them come next Wednesday, the 13th, when they go to Miami?
I want to see a focused football team. I want to see a football team that actually steps out there and is rested, has actively rested. So not only are they physically ready to play, but they're mentally ready to go out there and do battle and acquit themselves well on national TV. Coach Leffler was asked about this, and he kind of downplayed it. But let's be real. Every kid that has a letter from Bowling Green sitting in a shoebox in his house right now is going to be watching this game wondering, is this where I want to go? You have to make sure on these national television games, of which you have 3, you now have to make sure that you put out a good effort, because it's hard to call a kid, you get blown out on national TV, and then you try to call a kid and say, hey, we want you. No, I just saw you get blown out.
Yeah.
So these kids have got to go out there and acquit themselves well. They've got to get healthy. They've got to actively rest, but they've got to step out there Wednesday at 8 o'clock ready to play winning football. And even if you want to win, right? You want to win. But even if you don't win, you want to make sure that this game looks good, because you are recruiting against Miami to bring in the best players in the Mid-American Conference. Every kid that has a letter from Bowling Green in the shoebox also has one from Miami, also has one from Ohio, and you want to be able to show, hey, we can compete with those guys.
I love that. I didn't know the rivalry, the Miami Whammy, was so big. We're 8 days away, so I feel like this is a little too early, but I need a score prediction. I really want to know how you think this game will go.
I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be very close. I'm thinking, I'm thinking 24-23. Bowling Green prevails.
Okay.
I'm thinking we can prevail. I really want to see and this is the first time we've seen this, where all these young guys, now you get almost like an influx of talent these last 4 games of the year, because now your depth increases because you can play young guys without the threat of losing their redshirt year. So now you can spell guys, and some guys are going to get in there and make plays. I mean, we've seen Jordan Anderson, we've seen Davin Wilson get in there last week and get his first interception. These guys, these young guys, they can play. They may not have been ready in August, early September, but here we are in November. Some of these guys are ready to play, and some of them are going to go out and make some plays. Now, some of them are going to go out and make some mistakes, but you can take a mistake from a true freshman that I still have 4 more years to teach this guy how to be a good football player.
Exactly. I can't believe it's already November.
I cannot.
That's
it's
insane.
high school playoffs. It's
High
we're
school
winding down
playoffs.
everything. I mean, you figure everybody's looking at the college football playoff polls.
Oh,
now.
I'm looking. I'm Toledo's 1 game away from a bowl game eligibility. These guys are 3. That's exactly what I'm thinking about. Bowl game in the college football playoffs.
Yeah, I mean that's really what it is. We're coming up on holidays. I hate to see this time of the year because it's like, oh goodness, college football season is actually winding down.
No goodness, I have to buy Christmas presents.
Exactly.
Presents and pumpkin pie, which is
Exactly.
actually a good thing. All right, that's John Gibson in his very lovely Michael Stranahan suit today. You're welcome. I'm Dannie Rogers. Mark, let's send it back to you for the rest of College Football Weekly.